What is up, creepers? Happy Halloween, everyone, and welcome to That Game Rules, a subpar retro podcast where every week we break down an old retro game and all the pop culture that surrounds it. I'm your host, Scuba Steve. Thanks for listening, and welcome to Racoon City, because today we're ripping apart Resident Evil 2, stock up those ink ribbons, grab up all that ammo, and roll up some of that sweet green herb. You get it. Another legacy game today. My retro gaming hunger cannot be sated. We're all zombies here at That Game Rules and proud of it. So here at TGR, we love the nostalgia. Every week we go back in time. We talk old movies, old cartoons, old toys, all the stuff we grew up with. Then we'll get into the game, go over the vitals, the box art, the characters, levels, enemies, weapons. We got secrets, tons and tons of playthroughs and stuff to go through. We'll check out some comments and reviews, a whole bunch of other stuff. Finally, we'll give this game some made-up awards, slap a ranking on it, because just like a zombie, this podcast refuses to die. Want to get your comments read on the show? Email the show at thatgamerules@gmail.com. Tell me the games you want to talk about. Check us out over at thatgamerules.com. Leave some ratings, comments, whatever you're listening to. I appreciate it. We're going to get into it. There's a lot on this double disc. Awesome game. It's a legacy. Everybody has played it. It's got remakes. It's on tons of consoles. We're going to get into all of that stuff right after the time warp, right after some show updates here. So let's get into it. What have I been up to? I've been prepping for the zombie apocalypse in the proper way. Making tons of weapons, getting the basement ready in case them zombies come. I've been making the one weapon. I've just been making tons and tons of spears, because I don't think in the legacy of zombies, spears get enough love. You got all these you're running out of ammo with your guns. You're trying to get up close to a zombie with a knife, but why aren't we rocking some sweet 20-foot spears or something? Like every zombie movie, there's always just tons of zombies up on the wall, whether it's Walking Dead or any of these other movies. And it's like, I would be the guy with the 30-foot spear at the top of the wall, just tappy, tap, just taking out zombies. Why are we letting them gather up around the wall like that? That always bugged me. Make some good spears. Anyway, so I've been not doing that. I've been super busy. With the holidays, with my kids, with work, all that stuff. But I managed to play this game. Now I just want to stop podcasting and go keep playing this game, because there's a lot of multiple playthroughs. I didn't get to redo all of them. I'd like to do that, so I can't put this game down. I want to keep playing it. Detour real quick. I miss the old cash grab video games. And I thought of that recently. It's just like everything cool nowadays just goes to like Fortnite. So I'm wondering where my sweet like K-pop Demon Hunter, like 16-bit beat 'em up is, or any of those old cash grab games when there was just anything popular, and there would just instantly be a game that didn't really line up with like the theme of whatever that popular thing was, but we were still getting video games for it, whether or not they were crappy. Like, give me that. I want a K-pop Demon Hunter platformer. So we got K-pop Demon Hunter tickets for the movie theater sing-along, because I don't know about you guys, but over in my house, we're living that Huntrix life. We're rocking some K-pop Demon Hunter. Let's talk a few. Because there was a game for the Super Nintendo I played a lot, and it was Home Improvement. It was based off of the TV show with Tim Allen, and you were platforming, and you had like a screwdriver that you were collecting screws or something around like you would coins, and obviously no reason for that game to exist, but it did, as well as like many other random TV show and movie games. So that's where I thought of that. Like, I want that crappy thrown together really quick, put in the sprites that people recognize to get the kids to buy it. I miss those old crappy games. I've been trying to buy Spirit Halloween. Has a Nintendo game that's only available online. It's out of stock. It's like, I know they have a digital version, but they made a sweet like orange cart to actually go in the Nintendo for an old 8-bit Halloween platformer that I'm just like dying to play, but I wanted to wait for the actual cart. But anyway, I'm rambling again. Let's talk gaming memories real quick for this time warp. This was the one for me, and specifically, it was me and my friend Tony. He had the PlayStation. I didn't have a PlayStation. My friends did. I mean, I was always just Nintendo. I had the 64, so it was always at friends' house when I was playing PlayStation games. They all had PlayStations. But yeah, definitely big on the Resident Evils. Just pitch black, volume up. You know, parents are sleeping. It's 2, 3 in the morning, and we're just scaring the crap out of ourselves. Like not making it very far either. So shout out to those fun nights. I was doing the same thing, playing this, just playing it in the dark and scaring myself. And I knew the jump scares were coming, and they still get me in this game. So shout out to all that old stuff. Random shout out to some Jet Moto 2 for the PlayStation. Man, we ripped through that a lot. And all I remember are just Mountain Dew logos everywhere in that game. So shout out to Jet Moto. Shout out to Pepsi Man. We'll get into some PlayStation stuff eventually. Also, the Resident Evil 2 remake I played with my kid, and that was fun. It was crazy to see, you know, all that stuff in 3D versus your fixed camera of your OG Resident Evil 2 here. Like in the remake, I would just be like, oh yeah, like I knew that I can turn the camera now, and I'm like, I knew there was a trash can in that corner. So go me on figuring all that stuff out. But no, the remake's obviously awesome. Got tons of good ratings too. So we'll talk more maybe of the remake in a little bit. We're going to talk about all the other versions of this game as well. But to do that, we got to get a time warp. So we got to get back to 1998, where the only zombies were us kids after playing GoldenEye for like 8 hours straight.
Have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
So we're going to switch the format up a little bit today. This game is well loved, and I want to sprinkle in as many comments as I can. So we're going to do comments throughout the episode and just kind of show this game some love as we get through the whole thing here. But right now we're in a time warp. We're back in 1998, and today's sponsor is a sweet Halloween toy, another part of the 90s when it was just all about being weird and gross and freaking out your parents. So we had the Monster Face Mr. Potato Head-like toy. I got the commercial for it.
Master's got ears. Where we go? Couldn't be more disgusting. How about some bubbling boils and green glove? Now I'm losing my lunch.
Monster Face, the gruesome monster head you make and remake into the most monstrous monsters imaginable. Then you bring it to life.
Now for the test. It works!
Monster Face comes with everything shown here.
Monster Face, just 90s gross toy fun. Picture like a giant Mr. Potato Head, but it's like a big, ugly, life-size kind of skull-looking thing. And it had, over 30 accessories, including bugs, fangs, noses, and blisters. So like Mr. Potato Head, you just stick these things onto your Monster Face there. You could animate the eyes and mouth with some little, triggers in the back of the head there, make the eyes move. It even came with a little tub of the green ooze you could pour through its nose and mouth. A lot of toys back then were getting little green ooze coming with it. I know Ninja Turtles did some of that stuff, some of the car wash Mattel stuff, or some ooze car sets things. But ooze, always fun. But the real seller for me was that it had a small little air pump in it, so that when you put the blisters and pus looking things on it, you could pump the little air pump and make them pulse, and you could put little green ooze in there and you could make it pulse and just ooze out of these blisters.
Shut up and take my money.
So gross toys were popular, and it's like a Halloween toy. I like it. So shout out to Monster Face there. Let's talk movies. 1998. We have Ants versus Bugs Life. You tell me, which one was better? We're hitting all these CG movies now. We had Ants come out. We had Bugs Life come out. I'm pretty sure Bugs Life is the better movie there. Also, we had Quest for Camelot. I wonder if Arthur was with his buddy Sir Robin in that movie.
He was not in the least bit scared to be mashed into a pulp, or to have his eyes gouged out and his elbows broken.
poor brave Sir Robin. We also had The Parent Trap, an old movie. We had the Rugrats movie making their way to the big screen. But let's talk a few scary movies as well. Urban Legend. I remember that one. I remember in the preview, the part of that selling that movie was that like a kid did the Pop Rocks and the soda thing, and like his stomach was bursting or whatever. So that was like in the preview for that. So it had all those kind of urban legends. The whole don't flash your brights at someone with their lights off, or they'll turn around and attack you, and whatever else was in that movie. I mean, it was right up there trying to jump on the Scream bandwagon, the I Know What You Did Last Summer, just another teenage slasher. But I prefer this next one over Urban Legend, and that's The Faculty. We got Frodo himself in there, a bunch of other actors and actresses I like playing the teachers, kind of zombie-like as far as what happens in that movie. If you haven't seen it, good old weird slasher movie, The Faculty. And then we talked a little Chucky last week, but 1998, you had The Bride of Chucky and the introduction of Jennifer Tilly as Tiffany. And I got to tell you, listeners, audience, I have always have had a huge Jennifer Tilly crush. I mean, way back from like Liar Liar with Jim Carrey. I love her. I love her voice. Like if she did like an ASMR podcast, I might sign up for that. I love Jennifer Tilly. Also Family Guy fame and stuff there. So shout out to Bride of Chucky. They got a lot more shows. Tiffany was very much involved with the rest of the series after that and the TV show. They get real meta between Jennifer Tilly being in the actual movies and show versus the Tiffany doll itself. I think at one point even the Tiffany doll says that Jennifer Tilly has an annoying voice. So I like some meta stuff like that. But there's a little movie. We'll take a little side quest here. It's not Halloween, but 1998 we almost lost one of the greatest sequels ever. And I'm talking about Toy Story 2. Right up there with this rare, better than the original sequels. I know I put Shrek 2 up there. You got Empire Strikes Back. You had a lot of movies in this. Can the sequel be better? And will the third one stick the landing or not? In the case of Toy Story, I think Toy Story 3 is my favorite. So I think they totally nailed the landing there. But if you didn't know about Toy Story 2, 1998, so we're still kind of pre-internet. There's no clouds, and we're not saving anything like that. It's all just saved on hard discs, hard drives. So this movie being all CG, apparently when working on the film, someone entered the code, and if this is the right code or not, it was something like RM asterisk, just some sort of random code, but which when entered deletes everything on the computer as quickly as possible. Some sort of like James Bond wipe your computer code. So somebody entered that, and they were about finished. So they lost 90% of the entire movie, and it would have probably been scrapped after that point, except for the fact that their supervising technical director, I forget her name here, she recently had a child, so she took a copy home with her so she could work from home. And this is way pre-COVID type stuff, like work from home wasn't normal, or at least unless that just was your job, but it was, usually I guess in this case, the random, like here, a pregnant lady or a lady who just had kids, or maybe someone after surgery. So it wasn't like a common thing to work from home. So she had a copy at her house. And they managed, once they found out that it was deleted, she had a copy. They sent people over there. They wrapped that thing up in probably like 30 blankets and paraded that thing back to the studio, probably just going nice 10 miles an hour or something. But they got it back there. They were able to recover most of it. And so now we have the glorious Toy Story 2, the glorious Toy Story trilogy. I don't even remember 4, and I'm not. I'll go watch 5 because they're making it in the theater and stuff, but I'm not really looking forward to it. I mean, high hopes, I guess, but maybe low expectations, and then maybe I won't be disappointed. But also, fun note from Toy Story 2, Mattel wouldn't let Barbie be used in the first film. Of course, they wanted Barbie in there in a Toy Story movie. But then after Toy Story released and seeing they suddenly sold, 1 million Mr. Potato Heads and all these other toys that were in that movie, then of course Mattel was like, all right, here's Barbie. Let's make some money together. So then, we get Tour Guide Barbie, and Barbie's just in the rest of the movies from there. So a little tidbit there. I guess money talks. A couple of 1998 news events. Google was launched with their original old blue, red, yellow logo with the exclamation point. I hate. It's almost like sad when I talk time warps and I talk about like the birth of the internet, because I'm not sure I'm a fan of the internet at all. I kind of wish it would just go away. I don't think we as humans can handle that much interaction with other people. Anyway, so Google was launched. Britney Spears and the Spice Girls were tearing up the charts on the brand new MTV show TRL, Total Request Live. What a dumb show. That was always on after school. I mean, I watched it, but it was a thing to do. You would call in and request music videos, because back in the day, young children, we would watch music videos, and they were weird and kind of dumb. But anyway, MP3 players were also big and controversial thanks to just all the music sharing sites like Napster and all the what is this? So it's like the birth of the internet, and it's where they started to get scared about all these things that we suddenly have access to and things that we can suddenly share with each other. Movies, music, shows, games, just all these kind of things that people are still fighting to this day. And also Netflix DVDs by the mail, baby. Those little red envelopes started. And you would price, and that was even pre-subscription service. I think they were just priced individually. I remember Blockbuster trying to do that too before they went under their ship-to-home DVD stuff. None of it works very well. Let's talk a couple TV shows for you young listeners, because in 1998 I was a teenager, wasn't watching much TV, playing lots of games and just being an annoying boy teenager with my friends. But for you youngins, we had Powerpuff Girls, Cat Dog, I do like, saw that plenty. I mean, I've watched all these shows. Wild Thornberrys and the Animorphs, another book to series there, if you ever read those old Animorphs books. But also, I was definitely watching, when I was 14 years old here, Celebrity Deathmatch on MTV. Because I was already a big fan of claymation and that kind of stuff, so it already spoke to me. Go check out some Celebrity Deathmatch. Those things were crazy back then. Toys, and if you're going to talk toys in the late 90s, you're going to talk about Furbies, you're going to talk about Tamagotchis. We're just starting those computer toy friend things that were scaring the NSA. But shout out to bubbling mermaid Barbie, bubbles out of her crown, and the real kicker in a lot of the toys back then, she had the color-changing tails when dipped in water. Whether cold or hot, I remember a lot of toys where it's like you put it in cold or hot water, it's going to change color. And to this day, I'm pretty sure that's magic. Don't know how they do that, so I'm pretty sure that's magic. Also, 1998, McDonald's Halloween candy dispensing characters were coming in your Happy Meals because we got real toys. They weren't junk. So good Halloween toys. Burger King had the best. They had the Simpsons Halloween toys. Oh man, what a good time. That's why I'm fat. Dang fast food. Video games, PlayStation wise, we got Crash Bandicoot Warped, Metal Gear Solid, Spyro the Dragon, Gran Turismo, Tekken 3, Parasite Eve, all these banging like PlayStation games. And again, I played a lot of those. I didn't have the PlayStation, but again, we were rocking. The first PlayStation I bought, I think, was the PS2. And that was for GTA and Guitar Hero, I think, were the main things I was buying that one for. But also, I mean, those were the PlayStation games, but I got to send a little love to a very special 1998 game to me that I can't wait to do on this show. There we go. We'll lighten up the mood a little bit with some of this music. No zombies yet. There's some zombies in that game that scare me. This is light, this is happy. That's, of course, Ocarina of Time. You all know it.
Hey, listen!
That's our girl Navi there. I don't mind her. She's okay. I can't wait to play some more Ocarina of Time. Before we get into the game and the box art, I wanted to shout out some pop culture zombies in films, comic books, shows, games. I just started thinking of of all the zombie stuff I could think of and wrote some down here. The OG itself, I remember watching Night of the Living Dead, the classic black and white. I'll try to avoid any spoilers on this kind of stuff, but the original Night of the Living Dead has this sweet twist at the end that you just weren't seeing in movies back then. Of course, it's been remade and redone a bunch, but the OG's out there. You should take a look. The Walking Dead, of course. It's like it's like Game of Thrones. They didn't really stick the landing with either of those shows, but you got The Walking Dead that really brought zombies into the mainstream, for better or worse. Brought them into the mainstream, maybe burned people out on them at the same time, but they're there for better. It's a good show. I liked it for the first couple of seasons. Same with Game of Thrones. I'm a huge fan of that. I read the books essentially over and over. I kind of go through. I'm either reading Game of Thrones, the whole series, or I'm reading It by Stephen King, or I'm reading the Harry Potter series. I usually just rotate through those, just reading on the old Kindle and before bed or something, a little comfort food. But yeah, of course, you got the White Walkers, zombies in Game of Thrones. Zombieland brought us the double tap and adding some humor to the zombie movies, because we need to be able to call out some of the weird things about zombies. I mean, depending on if you're zombies or you're slow, dumb zombies, if they're your fast-running zombies, changes the way your game or your show or your movie is going to go. Speaking of comedy zombies, you had Shaun of the Dead. I love all those movies those guys are doing. Video game-wise, I mean, Call of Duty and Zombie Mode really brought that out. Dawn of the Dead is probably my favorite zombie movie. I think the director's cut, the extended one. I like that one. You've got all the 28 Days Later and up to your 28 Years Later now. The awesome Army of Darkness and Evil Dead movies and shows. More zombie and humor. I love it. Plants vs. Zombies. That game is making a comeback back to its overhead defense strategy game. So shout out there. Last of Us, of course, a great show. Resident Evil, not so much a great. It was a terrible Netflix show. So we got all the Resident Evil movies, and would you just stick with numbers? I have to look up. I can't keep track. You add names, Apocalypse and all these things after your movies, and I can't keep track. Just put numbers after them again, would you? But those are, I enjoy them for what they are. I separate them kind of from the games, because that's also kind of what they did. And it's like, to this day, I just feel like we still haven't gotten just a good Resident Evil show or movie, or it's right there. The story's there. The visuals are there. Just take that, put it on the screen for us to enjoy. Quit. There's a new one coming out now, another Resident Evil show, and even whoever's making it is like, yeah, we're not doing anything. It's all new characters. It's all new stories. And it's like, yeah, I'll try watching it, but it's like, it's right there. There's Leon. There's Claire. There's Wesker. There's all these people. It's like, get all these and anyway, but I like them. I like Mia Jovovich, and I like dumb movies. I'll just have those in the background while I'm freaking doing laundry or something. So I do. I like all those dumb movies. But let's talk straight Resident Evil 2 now. We'll do that by looking at the box art. Although PlayStations are more of a case. We'll look at the case art.
Now, I know you love video games, and I asked the clerk which is the one every boy wants.
You got me. Oh, yeah.
Talking Resident Evil 2 by Capcom. Spoilers for everything. I'll be talking spoilers for this game, probably for the remake. I assume you've played it if you're listening, and even if I spoil everything, it doesn't matter. Go play it. The jump scares are still going to get you. So, Resident Evil 2, available on the PlayStation 1 to start, eventually everywhere else. People still debate the PS1 versus the N64. There's better things on here or there. Also, just like the PC, the GameCube, the Dreamcast. It was on everything in all different versions. Some have better sound, some have better visuals. All the games are there, though. If anything, they added more, like the 64 has like costume changes, has different options like blood color and all these other things. And some of the other games have that stuff too. But we're mainly just going to talk the PS1 version today. There was also a really weird Tiger handheld. You know the love I have for Tiger and their handhelds. And all I've seen is some gameplay of this. I don't even know what the Tiger handheld looks like, but the gameplay was like Resident Evil on a Game Boy. It was like black and white and didn't look like it was fun to play. But they also, I had read they also translated this somehow on the GBA. Someone had figured out software-wise how to render 3D polygons in real time on the GBA, and they had a demo for this to have a version made for the GBA, but they decided not to go that route. But if you find those clips, it looks pretty cool. A little Resident Evil on the GBA and like full polygons moving just like your PlayStation, just like that game. And also shout out to the PlayStation demo discs. They used to come in like Electric Gaming Monthly and those kind of magazines, and you could play that thing. That's just a new game for you now. Like I know one of them had just like one of the demos was just like one of the levels from Tony Hawk. And that's just how I played Tony Hawk on my demo disc forever. Some of them were like time limits, some of them, however, like the demos worked. But shout out to those demo discs. In this case, it got real popular while they were waiting for this game to come out because they had some issues we'll get into, which most people know about, your Resident Evil 2 history. But in this case, the demo came out on the re-release, the director's cut of Resident Evil 1. They re-released in the meantime to keep the hype train for Resident Evil going. So there was a Resident Evil 2 demo on that was pretty much plays like the final game. So shout out to all them demo discs. Go play, bring it back. Go play those demos. Sometimes they have... It worries me, like, if a game... because you can still do your digital demos and stuff. If there's like a big popular game coming out and they like don't have a demo, that seems kind of worrisome. Like the same way like they'll stop critics from releasing like their movie reviews up to a certain point where you're like, well, that doesn't sound good if they're not letting that stuff out in the open. But anyway, let's talk about that box art. It's pretty sick. It's got that red font. You've got your half zombie face peeking around the door with his decrepit fingers grabbing on, and it's nice, it's creepy, and it's not giving anything else away. It's just your logo and some creepiness. I think in Japan it's called Biohazard, I think, instead of Resident Evil. That cover didn't look as good. It was kind of like a skull looking thing, but I like the cover we got. We're going to talk a little bit of history and facts, but I've also got us a nice Resident Evil 2 commercial.
Backup! I need backup!
A rookie cop facing unspeakable evil.
There's something really wrong here. These things aren't dying. I just blasted this thing, and it's still alive.
One of the most anticipated games of 1998, Resident Evil 2. If the suspense doesn't kill you, something else will.
Everyone's gonna die.
That was like a pretty sweet commercial too. They used a lot of they filmed a lot of like live footage just for that commercial. And I might be wrong, but I think it was George Romero, like the famous zombie guy who directed that commercial. So I might be wrong there, but it was a mix of like live action that wasn't actually in the game and then game footage and stuff. But cool commercial to check out. So we're going to talk about, we can't get into Resident Evil 2 without talking a little bit about Resident Evil 1.5. And if you don't know what that is, I'll tell you right now. Development-wise, Resident Evil 1 was a banger, and it sold great, obviously super popular. 1 month after that release, they started work on the sequel. I don't have the director's name because it's Japanese, and I'll butcher it. But I appreciate what they did with this development because they got, it varies online. They got between 40, 80, up to 90% completely done with the game. And then the director and kind of the whole team realized that the game suffered from the worst criticism a video game can ever have. And it was boring. It was, quote, dull and boring. There were some elements they were matching with Resident Evil 1. They still had like the cop station, a couple of things like that. It followed the same basic setting of Racoon City 2 months after the first game. Featured a mostly identical Leon Kennedy, but originally had a completely different female character, a college student named Elza Walker as the other player. As opposed to Claire, Elza Walker was a college student on vacation, came into Racoon City at the wrong time. Leon's story was kind of the same, a cop in training coming to his first day on the job. Some differences included there was no overlapping story. There were more support partners, so you're playing as, I think each main had 2 other side characters you played at later in the game. There was more monster action on screen. They used fewer polygons in their zombies and were able to fit more of them on the screen for more of a action-based shooting game. And the police station was smaller and more realistic, even to the point where like the cops were fat versus like all the skinnier zombies in the game now. But I mean, more realistic. Cop station being more realistic. What's not realistic about cops coming into work and having to put like a unicorn disc into a statue to get the key to go use the bathroom, or however this crazy police station and its puzzles worked. But I like it. The game's also 1.5 had more equipment like protective clothes. They could think like bulletproof vests, and costume changes would actually show like the vest on them and things. But however, the director believed it to be dull, and it was scrapped at somewhere between maybe 60 and 80% completion. And they decided to go with a B horror movie theme, creating their own universe for multiple stories to be told within. And that's kind of where we're at now. Even the way like Resident Evil 3 works, where it takes place before Resident Evil 2 and after Resident Evil 2 type of situation. All these kind of overlapping stories can all take place in this big demolished Racoon City apocalypse type setting. And so they really went with like the survival horror. And everyone kind of agrees that kind of after 1 and 2, you get into 3 and it starts to be less survival horror and more action zombie shooting. And it kind of gets that way up through 5, 6, and then you get back into survival horror come like 7 and 8 and 9, the new one that it's looking like now. We're back to jump scares and tight hallways and all those kind of things. So the survival horror, I'm glad they went with that because it's what I like. And I mean, the hype train was running. So they released that Resi 2 demo right up in there with the Resi 1 director's cut, and the rest is history. Now we've got Resident Evil 2. I'll try and I think there's even like the Resident Evil 1.5 people have found, and it's pretty much available online or like emulation. They built it enough together to be able to get a build out of that and play it. So that's out there if you want to check it out. We'll move on and we'll get into one of the more famous things about this game, and that's the controls, because we got tank controls, baby. And if you don't know what those are, your player moves like an army tank. So you've got up and down, which moves. If you push up, you're going to walk straight, and then you'll walk backwards with down, but left and right turn you. So you're never walking, and it's hard to walk and turn. You kind of walk, stop, turn. A lot of that going on with the tank moves. Shooting becomes a bit more even complicated as far as you can't move and shoot at the same time type of stuff. So it's famous for its tank controls, for better or worse. A lot of people hate them. A lot of people like me, it's just part of the game. It's hard to say. I guess I'll say I enjoy it. It's all part of it. Between the controls and the fixed camera, it's part of it. It's either people are complaining about it or people love it, and I'm in the love category because for me it adds to that tension of hearing a zombie getting louder and the camera's fixed. You can't do anything but kind of wait for him to come. And again, some people will say that that's boring and a dumb way to play a game, and but I like it because here I am, and a lot of other people do. Yeah, so you can't fire your gun while moving. You kind of run away, turn, fire, kind of repeat that over and over. It does have an auto aim option that I remember playing like when I was younger. Maybe we turned that on. You got to go to like control figure C, and that'll give you an auto aim, which doesn't work up and down. It'll just kind of, so if there's a licker up top or a dog down there, I think you still have to aim up or down. But then you can use your other trigger to alternate between which zombie you're trying to shoot. So I didn't have this last playthrough. I didn't have auto on, and I don't really mind. I don't like auto I guess you could, either way, you can turn auto on. I thought I had auto on as I was playing until I realized I didn't. I was like, oh, I'll just leave auto off then. I was hitting zombies where I needed to, mainly just running away from them. So you got your X button for your action. You're just going to push that a lot. Maybe you're just running along walls and things, just spamming that button because that's going to be your discover, this little piece of box of ammo or something that, sometimes those things are sparkly and obvious to see, and other times you're just going to spam that button, hope to pick up some stuff. R1 is what draws your weapon, so you have to hold that, and then you have to shoot it with your X button. The main button you're going to be using, doing a lot of running, that's your square button. And then you've got a menu and an inventory with lots of stuff in there, like your health, and we'll talk about all of that. Before we talk some more music and get into some direct gameplay, let's go over some comments now, because I got a bunch of them, so let's talk about this game. We got Mr. Throwback here. He says, after playing all the Resident Evil games, I think this sequel is my most favorite because you play two characters in two scenarios, checking out two stories at once. I love the enemies, especially William Birkin as the zombie from two scenarios. Dialogue is a lot better than the first game. I'll be playing the game over and over and can't stop playing it since 1998. Remake is great, but one thing the original has that the remake doesn't is charm. Highly recommend. So yeah, I agree there. It's I like multiple phase boss fights we got at the end there, and I'm real big on liking the overlapping stories aspect of it. There are 4 playthroughs of this game if you want to complete it 100%, and the way you play one playthrough and leave things for your other character, because they'll be coming through. You can leave items for them to pick up. Things you do in your playthrough are going to affect when you go to play your other character in their playthrough, and I love all of that. We got NN here. He says, it was a cold and dark 1999 fall day that my dad took me to then known as Blockbuster Video, at which point I saw this masterpiece sitting on the shelf. I rented it for a few days and was really on the edge of my seat. I reached the part in the RPD where the zombie's arms pop out and jumped out of my seat scared, and my heart was pounding. I didn't progress further as I returned it, but this was my first experience at playing Resident Evil when RE399 was my first purchase and was my favorite growing up. I eventually decided to purchase this for my PlayStation and realized this was actually my favorite Resident Evil. This was the game that got me into Resident Evil. It will always be my undisputable favorite. It's hard after 20 plus years for any game to come along and overtake this classic. So good. I throwing in these story comments here. I like that. I like to get back to that year, talking about our parents buying us games and all those things, heading to the video stores, just like we did, just like I did when I rented this one with my buddy and freaked us out, and then you end up buying it and getting your parents to buy it for you. Next comment here, Frank Yeager, he says, the classic masterpiece of Resi 2 on Sega Dreamcast. It's everything great that RE2 was on the PS1 and PC, but add the hard and nightmare difficulty. These two make it the must-have version of the game for the challenge alone. Graphics are very clean and smooth compared to PlayStation. If you can still find it, grab it now. So that's a Dreamcast version. I think the GameCube version has the best graphics, maybe. But yeah, like I said, they keep adding things. So it sounds like the Dreamcast version has a nightmare and a hard mode. I'm like, oh man, I watched some of the videos of these guys playing these no damage, full like hardest mode possible, and it's nuts. I love when people take these games and just perfect it to the millisecond on like run throughs and item pickups and all these things. So moving away from comments, let's talk music. And it's not just music with this game, it's the freaking sound is amazing, and the lack of music and sound. It's like they know all the right times to play some creepy music, to stop the creepy music, the sound effects. Every sprite or bad guy enemy has their own kind of sound effects, their own kind of triggers. You'll hear your zombies moaning and kind of dragging towards you. Like with the dogs, you'll hear their kind of toenails clicking. The liquor has their own kind of sound too. Of course, Mr. X has got his own freaking music and stuff too. So it's really cool. It's really rad, really awesome. Lots of great. I mean, it's not tracks that you can hear, maybe some of them, and be like, that's Resident Evil 2. It's all just creepy music. But it's the atmosphere that does it for you. So we'll play a little more music, and we're going to talk more Resident Evil 2. That one's Escape from the Laboratory. So let's get into some straight game chat here. Let's talk the manual, your basic info here, although it does have the sweet Capcom tip line. If you want to pay 99 cents a minute, you can listen to their pre-recorded information, or for $1.25 a minute, you can talk to a live game counselor. I love those old tips and tricks hotlines you would call. Probably talk to some 40-year-old who's never played a video game in his life, who's then got to pull out 16 binders of game info, because this, pre-computers, and file and flip through a bunch of pages to try and find the freaking key you want in Zelda Dungeon 6 or something. So shout out to those old tip lines. So let's talk characters straight out of the manual. We got Leon Kennedy. Leon is an idealistic rookie cop. He burns with the need to protect and to serve, and life as a cadet was an eye-opening experience. While reckless and brash, Leon is certainly not as naive as his demeanor would suggest. He is highly qualified for his new job with the Racoon Police. Next, we've got Ada Wong. Leon stumbles upon this mysterious woman who is quite secretive, yet at the same time a professional and skilled investigator. She can also come across as condescending and has a tendency to talk down to those she deems inferior to herself. Next up, we got Claire Redfield, sister of Chris. Claire is a light-hearted, articulate modern woman. While she can be a bit of a tomboy at times, she is somewhat wild, self-confident, and extroverted. Claire is typically the first person to try something many others would not. And another mysterious new character, Sherry Birkin. A lonely and insecure 12-year-old, Sherry is quite mature for her age. She is very shy, and when she speaks, she lacks self-confidence and always has the feeling she is lost. Sherry's parents are too wrapped up in their work to heed the emotional needs of their child. And boy, are they, Mr. and Mrs. Birkin. Not exactly parent of the year there. So moving on, we'll talk, still in the manual here, real quick, Leon Kennedy. I had a proud dad moment. It was just the other day while playing this game. I had it booted up, and it was doing the opening, Leon's opening cinematic, and literally my daughter, my older one, she's 20, was walking past me as I was playing, and she always watches me play these old crappy games. And so, compared to the games she's played, she's a gamer, not super huge, but my 20-year-old daughter gamer. I'm proud of her. Carry on that legacy. But anyway, so the cinematic comes, and it's literally Leon gets out of his car, and it's just that first headshot of Leon getting out of the cop car as she's walking by, because that's how long it took. She says, "What is this?" And because I know she knows some about gaming, and so I let Leon stand and kind of get his headshot there. And she's like, "Is that Leon Kennedy?" And I was just like, I was proud. I was like, yes, like even as terrible, like she knew. She's like, "He looks terrible." And I'm like, "Yeah, he does. He looks like Reboot, that cartoon show." Because in this game, it's all CG, cutscenes and cinematics. The first game used some real live footage stuff. And then because I know she's got a bit of a crush on Leon, and oddly enough, she's got a bit of a crush on Ada as well, because I know she was watching me play the remakes as well. So proud dad moment for some reason. My daughter just recognizing Resident Evil 2. So more from the manual. We'll just go through the story they have real quick. A city crawling with confusion. Imagine a normal Midwestern U.S. town built at the base of a vast forest. Business thrived here, especially with the advent of several new industries. Heck, you can't find a more peaceful wilderness getaway than Racoon City. Then the trouble began, and it leads back to when the corporation arrived. Rumors began to spread, and the town was overcome with odd occurrences. Unidentifiable creatures appeared out of nowhere, and fatal accidents happened at an alarming rate. Word got out about a severe accident at a mountain lab. No one in town knew what was happening to their No one in town knew what was happening to their quaint town. Okay. The Raccoon Police Department, in an effort to calm the growing fear among locals, recruited several new officers. Leon S. Kennedy is one of the promising new recruits. As Leon prepares to join his new unit, he attempts to contact the captain who hired him, but has no luck reaching him. Unfazed, he continues into Racoon City to his new job. At the other side of town, a distraught Claire Redfield searches for her missing brother, Chris. Claire begins her search in Racoon City, the last known location of her brother nearly 2 months ago, only to learn about the accident in the forest. Is Chris still in Racoon City? Sadly for Leon and Claire, they are completely unaware of the overwhelming world of horror and despair they are both about to enter. So a little bit about the game. They have something here called zapping, and I don't know why it's called that, but that's what they're calling it as far as this game and its overlapping stories. So you can essentially play as two characters, and this baby was huge, came on 2 discs, each disc having their own character and playthrough on it. So you can do Leon, and you would call that Leon A, and then you would do the Claire B story after Leon, where the things that Leon has done has now affected Claire's story, whether or not he left things for her, opened things. Claire has access to things Leon didn't, and vice versa. So you can do the Leon A to Claire B, or you can do the Claire A to Leon B. All the stories overlapping. You're running into each other during the stories here and there. And that was one of the coolest parts of the game to me, was just even just the first one, playing through Leon or Claire or whatever, and then playing the other story, because they interact, and then you see they get split up, but then you get to see what this other character is doing the whole time. And that's just, it's amazing to me. I like that. The game starts out with with a pretty cool opening cinematic, as well as cinematics and cutscenes throughout the entire game. The first opening one's pretty cool, just taking you into the whole world of Racoon City there. And then you'll pick your character, and they will start to get their own intro cinematics. There's cheesy dialogue. It's better in this game than the first one, but it's another thing that gets talked about a lot, is the dialogue. And again, we'll start this. I just played Leon for this run, so I guess Leon A. So he starts out with his opening cinematic. If you remember, he's heading to Racoon City. He meets up with Claire at some point. Truck driver gets bit by a zombie, crashes into you, and you guys get separated right at the beginning there. And if you think this game is giving you some tutorial level, think again. You jump right into it. So let's start with Leon A. We'll go over the first bit of the game in some amount of detail, just so I can kind of go over how the game works and the items and such. But from them, we're just going to read a bunch of comments, and then I'll just hit the highlights, because this would be a 5-hour podcast if I even more if we went over all the stories and all the other things too. But let's start out with something you all should recognize if you played this game.
Resident Evil 2.
Everybody knows that intro, Resident Evil. So we're starting as Leon. He had his cinematic, and again, no soft landing here. It throws you. The game starts, and there's like 3 zombies walking towards you in the big flaming city there. So you got to start running. You have to learn how to turn and run real quick, and this is where the game shines as far as survival horror, because one of the big aspects of it is the management of your items, management of your ammunition. They give you not a lot of ammo, and so one of the parts of the game is deciding when to fight and when to run. And a lot of it, if you're going to save your ammo, you've got to do a lot of running, avoiding zombies. You got, your basics, slow crawling zombies. They'll kind of reach slowly for you, kind of grab you. You can shake yourself off of them. And you all know the classic, are they dead or not? Because they'll fall, and sometimes they'll get back up and jump scare you. Sometimes they'll keep crawling after you. A lot of the cues for whether or not they're dead is, of course, the pile of blood under them, if they're dead. And then like the music can be a big cue too. If it's dramatic music and the music suddenly stops, you probably killed all the enemies in that area. But it is so huge on saving ammo versus running, and you don't know until you're later in the game and out of all your ammo whether or not, how screwed you are, because maybe you should have ran past those 5 zombies instead of taking them out. I mean, you're going to use your ammo because the thing being, the zombies will get knocked down, takes them a minute to get back up. So you can shoot them. You can shoot them in the knees just so they get knocked out, and so you can run past them while they're down. So sometimes they'll grab your leg and all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk saving ammo and all that throughout this, I'm sure, because it's just such a huge part of the game. So you run through the city first. You're making it down alleys. The setting looks great. Everything's on fire. It's very apocalyptic. So you're going to run. First place you're going to make it is the first door you're going to find. Run into it. Get away from the zombies. That's the ammo shop. Your first little take a breath, your first little breather in the game. I love the loading screen door animations is another thing about this game that's like a part of it, but I love it. That little bit of loading for them to add this door animation that just puts tension on you every single time it cuts to black and a door just opens. Also cool how they have all the different animations between the doors, ladders, stairs, different colored doors, jail doors. They animated all those for their little loading cutscene there, and it works really good. There's some jump scares with that later as well. So I love the door opening scenes to add that tension. So you're in your first cutscene talking to the ammo shop owner. This is where you'll start to learn things like how to pick things up. There's some ammo boxes around for you to grab. We'll talk about the inventory screen because that's it's kind of got some neat things there too as far as combining things just to add a little bit more before it gets a little more crazy, and like Resident Evil 3 with making your own ammunition and things like that. It gets a bit, crafting can be a delicate balance in games, and whether or not it's enjoyable crafting or whether it's tedious crafting. But anyway, your inventory screen shows your health status. You've got your classic Resident Evil that little pulse meter thing there, your health, showing between, I think, fine, caution, I forget what the other one is, but your red, green, and yellow there, your health. The sweet way to tell about the health is your character itself. For the first time in this game, if they are damaged, they'll start to like limp. They're holding their side. They're running and walking slower, and that is a detail that I freaking love. That's amazing. Like that makes you feel it as you're being attacked, and then your guy's like got one arm down to his side. He's like holding his stomach while he's running, kind of limping past all these zombies. So that was really cool as far as showing your health. But mainly still in the inventory screen, it's got your ammo, the inventory for better or worse. It's got your ammo, your weapons, your items, your things like ink ribbons, your herbs and your sprays, and then just all the other quest items you get. It only gives you like 8 spots or something to start. And also per the character, for their different stories, they start with an item. Leon has a lighter to start, and Claire has a lockpick. So right off the bat, they can each do different things that the other can't and accomplish different things, get into different areas. So that's the inventory screen for you. We'll kind of go over the items and stuff as we get there. So you're in that ammo shop. You get your first jump scare of the game. The glass shatters. The zombies break through. Here's one of your choosing situations. There's 2 ammo boxes you can pick up in there, and those are kind of like obvious. They kind of stand out from the art. Depending on what game your console you're playing on, the backgrounds could look worse and the items look better and they really stand out, or vice versa based on all the transitions of this game on different consoles. But you pick those up, and then it's a matter of you can leave right then when the zombies break through and be safe. I think there's like 4 of them. Or you can take the zombies out and pick up the shotgun the shop owner had, get yourself an early shotgun in the game. So there's that for you, and then you continue on. If you grab the shotgun, you're running through the city till we make it to our first part of the game that everybody knows, the police station. A nice cinematic there. It looks huge. This is your mansion of this game, just like the first one. It's your big area, your big puzzle solving area. I feel like the first half of the game is just like the police station, then everything else kind of fits in the second half there. But we'll make our way through that. It's got your saving option here. We'll talk about the typewriter. It's one of the mechanics of this game that you have essentially a limited amount of saves, which is kind of a weird thing to do. I guess it just adds more tension, but I don't think the tension of whether or not you should save outweighs the like the player comfort or the player's feelings themselves, the player's time, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Like I don't think it benefits a game. Like I can't even explain it. I don't like that option of the saving thing. It was back then. I feel like we didn't have ink ribbons. We were doing the old Nintendo, like leave your console on. So I get kind of why they did it, but I don't like that mechanic. Well, in this case, you play it on like a new PlayStation, then you got your kind of rest mode and those kind of things. But still, just it's kind of weird mechanic. Like I like the ammo saving one. I'm not sure I like the saving of the game mechanic. Anyway, police station, first thing, you go to the computer in there, you need a key card, you go through your door, you meet your dying cop buddy there, another cutscene, more story, you get your key card. One of the neat things about the game is how they do the story, besides when you're talking to people like the one officer there. Other than that, it's just these files, diaries, journals, signs, just all the things you find around the game that you stop and read, like gives you all this background. I enjoy that as far as giving exposition. It's up to you if you want to read them and how much backstory you want to know, but it ties into like Resident Evil 1 and talks about all that kind of stuff. So I like the story itself, so that it doesn't just shove it as a cutscene. You can't skip or anything. It gives you the option to read all these files and the progression of the files, because they're all like dated. So it'll be like you can see, oh, we kind of have an issue here. To next day, oh, this issue is pretty big, and then the final one's like, oh, we're all dead. So it's cool to read like the files and journals and stuff there. Let's see, cop guy dies. You get his key card. Now you're starting to open things. You're getting a feel for the game as far as doors being open or locked, making your way through hallways, finding things. You're already finding locked doors. It'll tell you kind of the shape of the keys on some of these doors. So you know things you're going to find and get to eventually. The kind of unique thing here being is you can find like a locked door and not even know if it's something you'll ever get to. It could be like a Claire story or something like that. So another thing you'll find in the new hallway you go in now is the storage chests. So those are throughout the game. They're all linked. So that's one of the more annoying things as well, as balancing how much inventory you have on you. You never want to be full on inventory and come across an item you want to pick up, because then you're running all the way back to your chest to drop off, which I was doing a lot. You can, in your inventory, you can combine certain things. You can combine herbs. You can combine like your weapons. Sometimes you can upgrade weapons. But I've been screwed so many times having no inventory spots on a thing I need to pick up. And then it's like, you can't like discard stuff. I couldn't. I couldn't find a discard. It was just telling me I couldn't use. I'm like, all right, I don't even want this herb. I'll just use it and be done with it. And it's like, oh, you don't need to use this herb right now. And I'm just like, come on. But you do get some. There is eventually an upgrade. You get 2 more item spots. It's also like there's weapons that will take up multiple spots. So you'll get weapons that will take up like 2 of your slots. So inventory management is definitely a part of this game. Let's see, I talked about the stories. I talked about the music. So we get into the next. We're in that first room with the chest. And this is like my favorite part of the game, or at least sets the scene for what this game is going to be. So you're in the room with your first kind of chest. Then you go to head to the next hall. But did you see that creepy thing crawl by in the window? The music drops as you enter. A fresh corpse on the floor of the hallway. The music stops, but there's a sound echoing. A drip, drip, drip. You take a breath and turn the corner, gun drawn, but see nothing. Nothing but a pile of blood on the floor, rippling currents of fluid. Something catches your eye on the ceiling. You slowly pan your vision up. Crawling along the ceiling is a creature of horror. Jagged claws, exposed brain, and a 6-foot tongue comes lashing at you like some dystopian nightmare. You get your sweet cutscene there, and it mimics your first Resident Evil cutscene of the famous zombie head turn. So you got your first liquor. They're in the game now. They're in the universe. Yeah, creepy, big red, big claws, exposed brain. Whether or not you picked up the shotgun. Oh, so it's like if you decide to run, tune this podcast to 58 minutes. If you have the shotgun, tune this podcast to 112 minutes. Don't really do that, but shout out to Choose Your Own Adventure books. That's what that little reference was there. So if you have the shotgun, you can take the liquor out in, I don't know, 2 shots maybe. If you don't, you're going to want to probably just run by him. You'll get the shotgun pretty soon. So whether you fight or run, you make yourself to the first safe room of the game, past a bunch of zombies. It's the photo processing room, the dark room, and finally some safe rooms. Those were, we would get into those safe rooms and just like sit, catch your breath, like nothing's going to get you in the safe rooms. Those are the rooms with typewriters and chests. A couple of those throughout the game. This one has some lockers that are locked, you know, you're going to want to find to get to later. And the photo processing room, another way to check out some backstory and stuff. You can develop film you find throughout the police station. So that's our big kind of first jump scare there, that liquor, and I am all about it. Let's read some more comments here and keep it going. James says, the best game I've ever played, hands down, in terms of action, suspense, and horror. The music by Masami Yude makes this one of the greatest games ever made. I threw that comment in there because I wanted to get the musician's name out there, even though I pronounced it and butchered it terribly. But again, shout out to the music. Just the music itself, again, it's just background, so you're not putting it on your MP3 player back in 1998. But it adds to it, and again, the music or the lack of music at the right times really makes the atmosphere of this game. Franken Muppet here says, the only game that ever had the courage to let me play as a piece of tofu. If you don't know what that is, it's their bonus content for this game. You beat it in super hard mode eventually or something. You can play as like a giant piece of tofu. There's like almost like a speed run kind of section they make for some extra features in the game between, what's the other guy, Hunk and Tofu. Some Resident Evil secrets for you.
It's a secret.
Shut up.
Dragolis here says, that old voice acting will always hold a special place in my heart. It was so corny, but at the time, it was still a fairly new thing to have in games, so having it at all was amazing. What a hell of an upgrade from the old 16-bit consoles. And you know what, Nintendo, I know you're listening to my podcast. Take note, because it's like 2025, and you guys still don't do voices in your games. It's fine. I don't want Link to have a voice. Mario doesn't need one when you're playing as those protagonists. But in your story games, Paper Mario still, why am I reading so much when I got to play Paper Mario or something? Anyway, next comment. Maguzras says, the technical limitations somehow made them even scarier, especially Resident Evil and Silent Hill with its fog and darkness. Yes, I can't say enough about that. If you played these back then, if you're young and you play it now and you just, maybe you can appreciate some things, but it was like the fog was a technical part of the game. They had to have these things, and then it just adds to it. Things like, and yes, the camera angles, the limitations, they make it, when it limits what you can do, but puts you in an environment of fear, and it works and you are being scared, then that's what it is. Whether or not, like, you're having, like, when they make a horror game, what is there? Is it, how much percentage are they trying to get their customers to have fun versus be scared? Because I imagine they want to be like, we want them to have fun. So maybe it's like a 60-40. It's like a weird balance, because I've read some comments where they're like, it's too scary, I turn it off, and then you never play it. But anyway, next comment, Sharpshooter188 says, good times. I remember my dad surprising me with a copy of it and some KFC. I was like, this is the best day ever. And that's that comment, and that's fine, man, because I like your family members. I like those memories, and you just have a specific memory of Resident Evil and fried chicken, and I'm all about that life. Another comment from Calvin. He says, I jumped when the arms reached through the boarded up windows and grabbed me. Also, when Mr. X smashed through the wall, people complain about the controls, but they add to the tension for me. So you can see people are right there with me with the controls and the cameras and the tension. In this case, yes, they got me again. The zombie arms busting through the windows. Knew it was coming. That was the biggest I probably jumped while playing that alone in my dark living room. And then the other one, yeah, when Mr. X frickin' Kool-Aid Mans himself through the wall. Another good jump scare there as well. After when Mr. X, they just frickin' drop him in the game, literally, in a big frickin' tube. All right. Comments aside, we'll keep it going. So we are in there. You got your liquor. Next thing about this game, besides the survival horror, is the puzzle aspect. So let's make our way to our first Resi puzzle. It is the statues upstairs. To get you'll see it, the big statues holding a big sparkling ruby red thing that's like obviously come and take me. And then what I love about Resident Evil puzzles is they're not freaking super challenging. It's a nice break from the horrorness of it. It'll take a little breather, do a little puzzle, and then head back to shooting zombies. But your first puzzle is real easy. Literally tells you something like these statues, because they're facing opposite, and it's like these statues must stare at me, and then it shows you the squares on the ground where the statues go, etc. Real easy puzzle. You can find some ammo hiding around there too, because everything's not going to be obvious, so that's why you're always clicking X and finding some stuff. But yep, you'll turn that the red jewel thing drops down, and you got your first little puzzle there. Moving on, next we'll talk about the story overlaps. So you run into your first story overlap with Claire, where you're in a room, desks and all this stuff. In that room is Chris's journal, Chris Redfield's journal. So you pick that up, you give it to Claire. You also find some more quest items. Again, I think I was in that room and I didn't have room to pick up any of that stuff. So you'll grab items, weapons, you'll read some backstory out of Chris's journal, and then other than that, you meet up with Claire, and of course, since it's a horror genre game thingy, you guys decide to split up and head out on your own things. And so that's when you're playing with Claire, you come into at that point of the game, meet with Leon. So just cool story overlap there. There are a few tips in the manual, just a few of them, but we'll go over them here. It says, if you can't survive, try this. Number 1, enemies can be knocked down. Enemies will fall after taking several shots to the body, but after they come to, they will be back up and after you in an instant. Conserve ammo by knocking down the enemies, then run past them. So we talked about that, and they're telling you right there, you kind of have to do this. Number 2, use weapons effectively. Weapon effectiveness varies with range and target. Determine the best weapon for the situation, taking into consideration ammo availability. This is the single most important factor in survival. So don't go wasting your shotgun shells, on regular zombies and those kind of things. Know your enemies. Each enemy is uniquely shaped, attacks differently, and moves differently. Get to know your enemies and learn their weak points. This can make you a more effective survivor. So there are different kinds of zombies, besides the real crazy things like lickers and spiders and other creatures you come across. The zombies do vary between male, female, big, small, how decrepit they are, and then eventually like the mutated zombies and things closer to the lab. Number 4, try all options, search all areas. Are you stuck? Come across a new room with nothing to do and nowhere to go? Try using items, pushing, climbing, investigating, etc. Walk the perimeter of rooms and areas to find more medicine and other important items, and check dead enemies for ammo. So you can do that as well. Mr. X, if you manage to take him down, he'll usually have ammo or something on him as well. Kind of another neat thing in the manual here as well was the Resident Evil 2 sweepstakes win a part in the movie. So they were filming Resident Evil 1, and through the Resident Evil 2 manual, you could rip that page out, send that baby in, try to get yourself a cameo on Resident Evil, and I wonder if that happened. I wonder if there was a winner and landed that walk-on part, and who it was. Did they get to be a zombie? I mean, that's hard to research. I couldn't find anything about that. But the other cool prizes you could win besides a part in the movie was a Resident Evil backpack, a library of Capcom games, an official director's chair, or a Resident Evil 2 t-shirt. I never won any sweepstakes. I sent in some stuff. The coolest thing, the most work I put in anything like that was like the old cereal tabs you would tear off to get some prizes occasionally, but then you had to still send in like $8 shipping and handling, and you'd have to get that at like a money order. And then you would wait 6 to 8 weeks, probably forgot you even had the thing at all, and then it showed up and it was like Christmas. That's how I got my Game Boy Watch. I wish I still had. Anyway, so from there, I can't do this whole game beat by beat, so we'll go over the highlights. We'll talk about some of my favorite parts of the game. I'll tell you right now, one of my favorite things is shooting zombies, and that's it. See you next week. No, it's when you shoot the zombies, like you'll blow their limbs off, you can blow arms off, you can blow them in half, like with the shotgun, and then just the top half of them is crawling towards you. Like that is so cool. I can't believe this game made it onto the N64 with how violent it is and how Nintendo is with their games. But definitely appreciate that. What else do I really like? We'll just kind of go beat by beat here. You're still in the police station, lots of hallways and zombies. There's the STARS office. You're going to be collecting key cards, and then you get all the various keys, the heart, the spade, the club. You'll also be collecting various plugs for later, and those are the chess themes ones, like the queen, the rook. There will be new weapons you'll come across, like the Colt and the Magnum, things like acid and fire rounds, machine gun, the minigun, all sorts of stuff you'll come across. There's just so much backstory in the files and the environment itself. Like there's just story in kind of just looking at the environment as you're playing. Let's see, what else? Mr. X, he comes into the game, and the cool thing about him is just the constant threat of Mr. X. Like you think you're safe, you hear the music, he'll bust through just out of nowhere. You're either running, I mean, you can take him down, but he doesn't stay down. And so it's just, once he comes into the game, it's just this nonstop presence of tension. So it's just something else just to scare you besides all the regular zombies. You'll come across some other new enemies like the crows and the dogs. That's another jump scare, is the crows busting through the window. That'll get you. The dogs are tough because they're fast and they're low on the ground, so you have to kind of aim down on those, and those guys are tough. There's some big spiders you get. They're not too bad. So you're gonna, as far as the police station, a bunch of areas. There's the attic upstairs, the kind of clock tower there. You'll end up outside here and there. I really like the ambience of outside because it's just like silent, except the occasional like zombie moan or like crow caw. So good outside ambience as well there. There's the chief's office, the trophy hall. Another jump scare in the interrogation room when you go to pick up the key, and it's the room with the mirror, and that freaking liquor busts through the mirror. So that was sweet. That was freaking rad. If you had the shotgun, take the liquor out. So that was another jump scare. The interrogation room. I said the clock tower. Eventually start to make it to the basement. That's where you start to deal with more dogs, more liquors. Down there is some other freaky stuff too. The power room, the mortuary, another freaking jump scare. The lockers of dead bodies in there. So they're all dead. You walk in and they don't rise till you pick up the key card. So that's another crazy jump scare. But the cool thing there was like, it's got like one kind of a tease jump scare as you walk up to the shelf. One of the doors just falls off. But then you pick up the card and it's just mayhem. All these zombies wake up. So you got the mortuary, you got like the parking lot down there, the kennels down there. The weapons depot room was mentioned like earlier in the game, so you can find your way to that. Like I said, the machine guns down there, and this is where you start to find things in the basement and sewer, and it'll tell you things like there's a gun if you're playing as Leon, and he even says, maybe I should leave this for Claire. So it's up to you whether or not you take that, and if you do, then when you go to play Claire, you don't have that, and you kind of would like to have that when you're Claire on Claire's story. It's got some story elements. All the things are happening now between like Annette Birkin, her kid, whether or not, so you run into Ada at this point as Leon, and about this time in your Claire story, you're going to run into Shirley, and you'll start to learn about the actual story of this game with the the Birkins, and when it comes to Resident Evil and its lore and its story, I still don't know what's going on. I guess the lore is kill zombies, but when you get to Umbrella's bad, kill zombies. That's the lore I know. But there's so much who's at the top of Umbrella, what scientist is backstabbing what scientist because they're obsessed with their research, all these overarching themes like that. So it's hard to pay attention. Besides, everyone's probably bad and in it for themselves. So you've got like Annette Birkins covering for her husband, who is like the main big mutated G virus zombie in this one. You can look up all the story, play the game, something about a bad doctor guy mutating, likes his G virus better than the T virus, all these kind of elements. And of course, he's the mutated beast guy in this game. You got like the main guy who is at Wesker and stuff coming into play story-wise as well through your files and things you're reading. Annette Birkin tells you that it's her husband who's causing all the destruction you see. So you start to learn that he's the bad guy. And again, you'll play as your side characters just for a little bit. Kind of switches it up. You'll switch to Ada at one point. You'll play as Shirley when you're playing the Claire story. So those are cool to switch it up too. Even all the overarching stories they already have and how big this game is, they're switching up and adding some multiple characters to play as. So you keep moving. We got other areas. You got the pollution dump, the water control room, different bosses depending on your playthrough. It gives tons of replayability. So we're starting to get towards the sewers, the septic, and the storage rooms. This is when eventually you'll get your first fight with the G virus. Down in the sewer there, he like rips off a guardrail, wants to whack you around with it. So you're in the deep, and then eventually you get to the deep sewers under the city, areas like the trash room, the garbage dump, the sewage control room, elevator access. There are maps for the game if you find them. There's like the police station map, there's a sewer map, so all those kind of things as well. You can access those on your inventory screen. It'll show you rooms you haven't been in. Those are super helpful. I was using those a lot. Eventually you play it enough, you just memorize this whole area. That's why playing the remake's cool, because you kind of see this whole... They add a lot to the remake, a lot more rooms and things like that. So it was weird to even come back to this from the remake and kind of see how much smaller it is, how easier and smaller the puzzles and things are from the remake. Eventually, let's see... You got for some reason, there's a big winding tunnel. It's one of those where a pipe with the old death fan blades you got to make it through. Because when they design cities in video games, we have to have things crushing and death blades spinning in areas that humans can access. We gotta design them that way. More enemies, giant spiders. You got the giant crocodile boss. He was freaking sweet. Giant roaches. I like how they just kind of take things and we'll just make them giant. Like maybe the virus just makes some stuff really huge. You got that, and then we're getting towards all the fun stuff like the transport car, another G virus monster fight where he's like punching through the ceiling. I mean, those are really cool. We're getting really longer on this episode anyway, so I'm sorry to breeze through stuff, but if you're listening to this, you've probably played it and you love it, and hopefully I'm just mentioning things that make you want to go play it again. So the whole point being, you're like under the police station, you get underground, you make your way through the city, through these secret tunnels, through the sewers, to the actual Umbrella secret underground laboratory, the factory. And of course you got Mr. X coming in along the way. He's like a special delivery. He just shoots down like a Domino's pizza drone or something. So he was created from the T virus. He is like Umbrella's hitman. So he's just going to come in and clean up shop there. He never runs like Michael Myers style. He just kind of walks and stalks you. But this is when good thing to deal with is rocket launcher time when it comes to dealing with Mr. X. Let's read a couple more comments before we kind of go through the last boss fight and kind of wrap it up and get into some awards. So some other comments here again. We've got Ultimate Other Donald. He says, it really is just so good. Oh, I remember being a wee boy back home in Scotland and playing the demo disc over and over. It lets you play up until getting to the police station. Happy days. You have to play the Resident Evil 2 remake. They really put a different and wonderful spin on it. It's so cool and terrifying to play through all those areas over the shoulder versus fixed camera. So we've been talking about that, and I agree. Either way, if I'm running from Mr. X in fixed camera or over the shoulder, those were the scariest parts of both of these playthroughs for me. We got Hardy SMH here, says, I have a great memory. All right, let's make it through this comment. He says, I have a great memory that only makes sense in German. When you start the game and you enter the shop, there is a pump gun. So that's what they call shotguns. He's okay. In German, this is called a Schrotflint. You know, pump gun ammo are those. I don't know the English word. Lots of small pebbles. In German, this is called Schrott. But we have a word for trash that is Schrott. So I, around 5 or 6 years old at the time, find the CD behind the couch, play the game, go to my father and ask what a Schrotflint is, like trash gun is. He tells me the right pronunciation and all is good. 10 minutes later, he comes into my room. Wait, why you ask? He sees the game, took the CD out, and told me I'm not allowed to play. 2 days later, he gives me the CD back without asking. So I just like that. This guy in German here, it's called a Schrotflint, the old shotgun there. And I don't know what the English word is for shotgun shells. I don't know what is it called, buckshot or something like that. Anyway, another comment here, Death Tapper. The part in the interrogation room literally made me jump so hard I had a flash of white light. I paused the game, dropped the controller, and stood up to walk around and recompose myself. Now nothing scares me. So maybe that flash of white, it just terrified you so hard you're just done being scared for the rest of your life. That's what that white light was that you saw. So now you're like Superman now. That I mentioned that one. That's the liquor breaking through the glass. The other thing this game does is it makes you comfortable because your second playthrough, you're comfortable with a lot of the areas and things, but then it'll throw more stuff at you where a room that you had already cleared or a room that was safe now as you're playing with Claire, like liquor jumps through the ceiling that wasn't there before. So it's always keeping you on your toes. So I'll kind of go over this last final fight. Spoilers again, but I said that at the beginning. He's got a lot of transformations, and it's happening on a moving type of situation thing, and I'm a big fan of that. When there's just lots of moving parts and a big boss fight at the end. So he transforms a lot during the fight. And take a note, you don't see every stage in a single playthrough, and you don't see them in the same order either. So all this stuff will kind of mix and match depending on how much you've done, your ranking in the game. I didn't even mention like game rankings. At the end of the game, you'll get a grade based on how well you did. But he has a bunch of different transformations. Less than human, the G-Virus monster still has the appearance of a human, yet a significant portion of his body is mutated. He's got a giant eyeball growing out of his arm. Phase 2, he grows some super claws, and more eyeballs start popping out of his skin. And that's a really cool horror visual, is the way they do tentacles and eyeballs on things. That's the real cosmic dystopian horror type stuff, is when you just add eyeballs and tentacles to things. So that's cool, and that's freaky as well. Your next, more phases, more claws. He starts popping out more limbs. He gets bigger and taller. He's like big spider-like guy now. His mouth grows out with just like tons of teeth start protruding through it. But my favorite thing is the last phase of the boss fight. He is just a big freaking melted blob that you are just firing away at. Like, don't stop. Just get it. All on this big moving train car thing. Everything's so dramatic. The music is intense. Giant melted eyeball, tentacle, limb boss. And other than that, you beat him. You can say you're done with the game. But you're going to want to turn right back around. You're going to want to throw in that next disc. You're going to want to get another playthrough. You're going to want to try doing Claire first. Again, see Leon after, because it's everything I want to do now, even though I've played all of this stuff before. But you do beat it, and you get some sweet, like, 90s rock and roll credits, like some sweet 90s music playing. and a mixture of credits between action and CG cinematics and the cutscenes and stuff. But the credits are pretty cool. But yeah, again, you're going to want to go through, play some stuff more, get all those secrets you didn't find the first time. And other than that, we'll talk more comments. We'll talk some more awards. I know I'm not doing this game justice for such a legacy game, but I hope at least my love of the game's coming through on my terrible podcast. I know I'm all over the place, but if you turn this podcast off and you're at least like, that weird Scuba Steve guy can't talk and do words very well, but I think he likes video games, then maybe I'm doing okay. But let's get into some awards.
Aren't you a little old for video games?
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
Let's do all the things that you want to do. Throw me a frickin' bone here. I'm the boss. Need the info.
I've lived in mortal terror that this would happen.
Get on with the ceremony.
All right, a few more comments. We'll end it, and then we'll get back to giving some awards and wrap this thing up. I tried to find negative comments, or at least comments to kind of bounce off of, and I managed to find one because it's not very easy when we're talking Resident Evil 2. But Consistent Car here says, honestly never understood appeal of older Resident Evil games, shooting off-screen enemies or barely avoiding them in the tightest video game hallways, although I enjoyed Parasite Eve and Resident Evil 4. So he doesn't like that, and the same kind of things I would say people wouldn't enjoy shooting off-screen enemies. The fact that you like Resident Evil 4 kind of tells me you're like the more action, Call of Duty, gunning zombies down type of stuff versus survival horror. But again, this tank controls, and if tank controls and fixed cameras were what people preferred, then you would see a lot more games like that nowadays. If anything, it might be like indie studios and retro gaming and stuff making this kind of stuff now. But anyway, we got Yazik here. He says, I feel like they're always top tier right up until they do the sewer mission and the labs. I haven't played Resident Evil 2 since 2000 or so, but I feel confident saying that there was a bad sewer mission. One thing I do remember is the liquor through the one-way glass. So another comment on that liquor jump scare in the interrogation room. And a comment, he doesn't even know. He says, I haven't played this in 20 plus years, but I'm pretty sure there's a crappy sewer level. And you could almost put that quote in front of like every retro game or RPG or longer game from back then. We were recently talking about a crappy sewer level in Shadows of the Empire for the 64. What else are some crappy sewer levels? It's true. All the sewer levels. Does anybody enjoy a sewer level out there? Besides like Mario, his underground sewers. It wasn't terrible, but I don't enjoy the sewers either. Dark. It's the remake sewers that was creepy. When you're in like knee-high water and there's just zombies like under there as well and stuff, that's what freaks me out. Like the unknown, what's in the water is the kind of stuff that scares me. Not just dark for the sake of dark. Another comment here, Maleficent Aspect says, I can recommend Dino Crisis. Loved it back in the day and it has the same camera perspective style. It does. I barely remember Dino Crisis besides liking it. Besides, in my head, it's Resident Evil with dinosaurs. And I want to replay that again. It does have I believe your tank and your fixed camera, but I enjoy it in this. So I want to play that with dinosaurs. So hopefully someday. Last comment of the episode, Bizzle for Shizzle says, this is my favorite one of the whole franchise. I was really into zombies and zombie movies when the first RE came out back in 1996, so I had to have it. I was absolutely obsessed with it and couldn't wait for the sequel. When 2 was coming out, I sold a bunch of old SNES games to a pawn shop to pay for Resident Evil 2. I asked my mom to go to Best Buy after work to pre-order it a day or two before it came out, and they already had copies in the back, so they just sold her one on the spot. She came home that night, told me she couldn't pre-order it, and then popped it out of her purse to surprise me. Fond memories of this game was a further obsession of mine for years after. So another great story. I appreciate hearing about how people discover this game, how they got the game, how cool their parents are, because I do that same kind of crap. I like to tease my kids. but usually always end up giving them what they want if they deserve it, the brats. So let's talk. Thanks, everyone. All those comments. There's thousands of them out there. We all love Resident Evil, except the movies, maybe. But let's get into some awards. 3 awards. Our first one is Mario's Haunted Piano Award. That's going to go for the best jump scare. We've got a lot. I've listed a lot off through the episode. I'll list some more here. We've got the dogs breaking through. We've got the first liquor appearance. Which one is the dogs? Is that when, you pick up the red plant and the dogs bust out of the kennel? Or is it the dogs? No, that's not the... Okay. We'll take that one in the kennel. The first liquor appearance, not even a jump scare, really, unless you count like the walking by the window part that kind of scares you. You got the arms busting through the windows in the hallway. Multiple mentions there. The crows breaking through. Another one there. You got the morgue, where the door falls and all the zombies wake up. You've got, the outside part. Yeah, that was a cool jump scare. One of the door animations, at least one of them, you get so used to seeing these door animations, and then the one has zombies in the animation. So you open the door and the zombies are there coming through the door and then attacking you right on the spot. That's like when you try to go outside the police station. So that one was sweet. And, of course, the liquor in the interrogation room we've heard about a lot as well. Which one? I jumped the most at the arms busting through the windows. But my kind of favorite one, I really like the part I really like how it throws you on your head when it puts the zombies into the door opening cutscene. And that's almost, but I'm going to give it to the morgue. I guess I really like that. I like when you walk into a room and you see all the zombies and you know something's going to happen, because if the zombies are there and you haven't killed them, then they're bound to do something. So you're just kind of waiting for that jump scare. And there's nothing about a good jump scare than waiting for the jump scare and then getting it. Or at least it drops that one door and you think the jump scare is over. And anyway, next award is going to be Castlevania Stairs Award, and that's going to go to the worst gaming mechanic. I got a couple here. I wrote down the tank ribbons. Just let me save. I don't want to leave my console on. I don't want to have to worry about having those in my inventory. I don't like the ink ribbons, and I don't think they affect the game for better or worse, so why have them? You got the tank controls everyone talks about. You've got the fixed camera everyone talks about. And then the thing, you got the inventory system that I talk about that doesn't add tension as much as it's tediously making you do stuff, making you run back. At least for the most part, when you clear zombies, they don't come back unless it shows you that they are, and these kind of things that happen. But I'm going to give my award. It was going to be the ink ribbons when I started the podcast, because that's what I had noted, but I'm going to give it to the inventory system. I mean, I get it. You can't just bulk up all your items and just be running around with tons of guns and stuff. So I guess it kind of makes sense. Inventory management becomes a thing in just RPGs and horror games and stuff in general. You've always got your knife, though. You can go, you don't need ammo. You can go slice and dice some zombies with your knife. Award number 3 is going to be the Zombie Things from Ocarina of Time Award, and that's going to be the scariest boss or enemy. See, I told you Ocarina of Time had some scary stuff. Those freaking mummy things, or that one thing with all the hands later. Anyway, so the scariest boss or enemy, a lot to contend here. I got the dogs down here. They're not the scariest, but they're like the hardest to hit and kill. You've got Mr. X, just the constant threat of the game. You've got the lickers. Your new could be up, could be down. You don't know where they're coming from. The giant crocodile, just because he was unexpected. His sprite looks sweet. This isn't going for like the best looking sprite or boss, or it might be the giant crocodile, or it might be William Birkin in mush form. I got him on here too. We could pick any of his various forms for the scariest boss or enemy. But when people talk about this game, when people talk about Resident Evil 3, they talk about Nemesis. So when people talk about Resident Evil 2 and the scariest thing in this game, it's going to be Mr. X. He looks a lot freaking creepier in the new game too. It's just this weird, solid black face looking thing. And just, man, it's like getting chased by like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So That's a fear of mine. We'll move on. We're going to rate this game. I think you guys know where it's going, but now it's my turn to talk about some things I liked. So, gameplay, visuals, music, sound, and awesomeness. Gameplay, it's got the tank controls. You know how I feel about it. It's got the fixed camera. You know how I feel about it. Depending on how quick the fixed camera cuts, it's not too bad in this game. I feel like RE3 is worse. The thing is, if you're running straight, and that's how the tank controls work with a fixed camera, as the camera changes, as long as you're holding up, you're still moving down that hallway in the direction you want to. It's just depending on some of the cuts or some of, you take one step back and everything changes in your field of vision, whether or not you can see enemies or not. So there is something to be said about the cuts and how often the fixed camera changes. But gameplay-wise, it's got story, it's got atmosphere, it's got stakes, it's got surprises, it's got everything I want in a game, and it's going to get a 9.5 out of 10 there. Visuals, even the low-res poly looks like artwork from like those scary stories to tell in the dark books. And that artwork scares the crap out of me. So even like static images of that, or again, just they've got the movement down on these sprites. I mean, yeah, they're polygon, they're kind of golden eye looking. They got mittens for hands and all these kind of things, but it works. Again, their movement, the sound and atmosphere. It all comes together like a Thanksgiving meal of horror. So you're going to get a 10 out of 10 on visuals. The background details are insane. I love the detail of limping while you're running. I love the detail of shooting limbs, and you can shoot the heads off of zombies. All these things you should and could do in a zombie killing game. Music and sound, I can't gush more about it. The way it's not just the way they use it, it's the way they don't use it. It's silence in the right parts, it's the sound effects in the right parts. Your jump scares are going to be that big glass breaking scare you. So you're going to get a 10 out of 10 on music and sound. Again, the music isn't nothing you're putting on your playlist, but it's there, and without it you'd miss it. So moving on to awesomeness, it's one of the best games of all time. It's going to get 10 out of 10. It's just made survival horror what it is. You start getting games like Silent Hill. You start getting it's just a genre. It moves into like horror action, but survival horror like never left. And this really, it's almost like, they didn't know when they made Mario how a platformer should work, what people are going to enjoy about this platformer. And they nailed it with Mario, just all these concepts, because everyone's tried to copy Mario since then. And it seems like everyone tries to copy Resident Evil, specifically Resident Evil 2. And just for them to take that chance on canceling, Resident Evil 1.5 and to put this game out there, there was another game recently, or an episode I did. It's the same kind of thing when you can tell developers are there to make a good video game for people to enjoy. They're not the corporate people at the top making all these weird decisions. It's these people making these games, showing this love. It's just a great game, and it just deserves all the praise it can. It's awesome. It's top tier. Add up all those numbers together, and gosh, do you guys think this game rules? Of course this game rules. It's a solid 100% must-play game. The genre is here to stay. I can't give this game enough praise. I hope this episode does this game justice. I'm sure it doesn't. But again, hopefully you feel the love coming through these old games. I hope they never die. There should just be a huge retro video game library of these things. It's that constant emulation battle you go through as far as preserving video game history. But definitely play this one. I'm sure I forgot to mention tons of stuff, but go play for yourself and enjoy. Tons more weapons, enemies, areas, tons of stuff I didn't talk about. Next week, we're moving into November, so just like October, it's time to pick our 4 favorite Thanksgiving-themed games to play. Not really. All I can think of maybe South Park, where you're just fighting a bunch of turkeys, is about as close to Thanksgiving games as you can get. And I'm not doing that game because that's terrible. Next week will be a surprise. I don't know what I'm going to play yet. I had a game lined up that I don't feel like playing, so I'm going to probably find something a bit more cutesy. We'll get out of October and find something a bit more fun maybe. I may have to play around with the format of the show just based on my life. This one was tough to I'm very busy and I want to do these games justice, and a week was pushing it. So moving forward, I'm going to try to keep the weekly schedule, but if I feel like the game isn't going to get its due, then maybe it'll be an extra week on that episode. This is a hobby of mine. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking about games. I enjoy creating something that people in the future could listen to, or my kids and this kind of thing. So this will continue for sure. It's just if I come across a big game, because I like playing them, then I might have to slow down the release of the podcast there. But hang with me. I'm going to keep these things going. I'm going to keep talking nostalgic things. But until then, happy Halloween, everyone. Thanks again for listening to this week's show. I appreciate the support. Leave me some comments. Leave me some ratings. Go ahead and email me, thatgamerules@gmail.com. What else can I say? Have fun trick-or-treating. Have a safe holiday if you're going to any parties. Check out some scary movies. Go play some scary games. Enjoy all the candy and snacks and everything else. And I will see you guys on the next one.